waiting. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel it, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel it, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up on me. Don't you give up now. Don't you give up on me. Don't you give up now. Don't you give up on me. Don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. It's Saturday, May 6th. It's a little bit after 5. This is going to go on at 7 p.m. I'm just doing it now because I have a few things I want to do this evening. But it was a glorious, glorious day. My wife and I went out to the Buckrow Beach Farmers Market that just opened for the 2023 season. And actually, we're going to have some footage from there. And beautiful day, and the weather's warming up. And we're getting closer to Memorial Day weekend with the opening of the beaches and the pools. So a lot of nice stuff is going on. And I'm Chris Gajullo. I am an associate broker for Realty Connect LLC and also a licensed referral specialist. And this is my weekly blog, Real Estate with Mr. G. And I have I have also a weekly newsletter that goes out with the same name, Real Estate with Mr. G. And we discuss what's going on in the current real estate market. We may talk about the economy. We may talk about mortgage rates and the such. And I like to keep you updated on what's going on. And again, my role with Realty Connect LLC is that I do marketing for them, and you can contact me for viewing homes here, or actually in the 50 states of the United States, the 50 states within America. And or if you want to list a program, we could make contact. We could discuss the market, and then you could go to my website where you enter your information, and you will be presented with 3 top agents in that area that could help you either find a home or sell your home. And so that's what I'm doing right now, among many other things. And let me just show you my little intro video for that. Just a side note, as I'm doing this, the video is coming up a little shaky. It may work out once it's presented to you, but I apologize. We've been having a little trouble with the internet lately in this area. It's been off and on, so that might be the reason. But sometimes when it processes the video for live streaming, it works well. So I don't know. Who knows? Okay, so we are going to start off for a question with a question from someone at I think her name is Cynthia. That's right, from Hampton. She was at the Buckle Beach farmers market today, and she has this question for us.
Hello, Mr. G, and thanks for letting me be on your video podcast. I would like to purchase a home, but with today's high home prices and rising mortgage rates, should I hold off from purchasing? Please advise. Once again, love the show. I watch every week.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. And nice seeing you out by Buckle Beach, enjoying the weather, the beach, the vendors. That's really good stuff. Okay, and when we look at Cynthia, I would say she might be a millennial. She's a young person. And I'm going to show you an article first, and it was on MSN on their website. And I found other articles basically the same with millennials. And what's happening with the millennials when it comes to buying homes could affect also people who are older. So let's switch over to that fast. And let me get rid of my caption. We don't need that now. We know what we're going to talk about. So there's plenty of room. And it says why millennials aren't buying houses anymore. And I'm going to just move down to the key points here. And it starts off with interest rates and wages. Now, this is a problem not only for millennials, but for older people too. We have interest rates much higher than they were a year ago. And in fact, this week, the Federal Reserve upped the Fed funds rate another quarter of a point. And again, as I have stated many times in my podcast, that does not directly affect mortgage rates, but it's a domino effect, and that eventually will bring those mortgage rates up higher. So with higher interest rates and wages not meeting those expectations, those rising cost levels, we have a disconnect. I was listening to a report. I don't know if it was on Morning Joe, whatever, but when I think back when I graduated college, undergrad, and this was back in New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, if you can't tell that by my accent. And you would get the Sunday Times, and the Sunday Times, the classified section was, this thick. And once you had that degree, you could go into New York City and find a job and making, at that time when I graduated in 1979, and going into, that's from undergrad school. And, if you made $20,000, that was a lot of money back then. But basically, it wasn't, and the jobs weren't part-time, and they gave you medical insurance. That was a given. That wasn't even a question like, oh, do you give me? No, they would have some sort of healthcare program there. But things are so much different now. It really is. And kids, young people who are paying a lot for their degrees when they're coming out, they're not finding the jobs or the jobs with the income they need to pay back their student debt. So that's a big issue in this country. Like we argue whether or not some of the student debt should be forgiven. but and then people will, from my generation, would say, well, I did it, I paid off everything, and or I if I didn't take out a student loan, I paid my own tuition. But things were so much different back then. Again, uh, once you came out, you made decent money. You had medical insurance. You didn't have to hold 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Okay, and it's you know, you always have that guy says, oh, well, I did everything on my own, and I worked hard until I moved up into management, and I get that's how it was 30, 40 years ago. It's not like that now. It's much different. That's a whole other podcast to discuss today's work environment. Okay. It's just to give you a side example. When I was back in Brooklyn, I was a business high school teacher, and I first taught typing on the typewriter. Right? How ancient is that? Then it went to computer word processing, and then we would teach students to be very efficient in word processing and their typing skills, and you would get a job as a word processor, right? And the executives, whether they were male or female, would walk around, and they would either they had a tape where they dictated in the tape a letter they wanted, and they would give it to a word processor to type it up, or they had like a handwritten letter for the word processor to type it up in the proper format, and these word processing people made good money, but that doesn't happen anymore. All right, now each executive, all right, because the price of computers came down, and each executive has their own computer, and they type up their own messages. A lot of the stuff is email anyway. They're not doing the formal letter, so things change, right? And the staff that you need, that whole pool of word processing people who were very popular in the 1980s is not there anymore. So it's a whole different world. You can't just make these comments. Well, things were different back. Well, not that things were different back then, but I did this, and I worked hard, and good. God bless you for working hard. But it's a different scene now. So that's enough of my spiel on that. All right. And so the other problem we have, of course, is affordability, because houses are going up in prices. More homes are hitting the market, but it's still not the amount that it was prior to the pandemic. And so, and that's your basic theory of economics. When you have strong demand and a low supply, it pushes up the prices. And we also have, again, it's not as hard as it was back a year or 2 years ago when people were writing contracts and going up. They're still going up over the asking price. It's probably not as crazy as it was 2 years ago, going $20,000, $30,000 above. But you still have that people going above that amount. So the affordability of the houses are getting extremely high, and for millennials or other people, it's hard to really to purchase. And here we have student debt, and we just talked about that, and lack of inventory. Different values. This is interesting here. Despite all other issues, millennials might also be avoiding buying homes because they just don't want to. Many now have different values than the generations before them. Many have different values than their parents. While their parents' generation valued home ownership as part of the American dream, millennials value freedom. Freedom to move around at their will, freedom to move to a different city at a moment's notice, and freedom to not be tied to a 30-year loan. I always give this example of the way young people think. I was this is going back in Brooklyn, and back in Brooklyn, because I taught in the morning and I did real estate in the afternoon. I did mostly rentals, so I was going to have an open house in it was either a 1-bedroom apartment or a studio, and so the renter. The tenant agreed for me to do like an hour open house. And so he was there, and I went up there and I checked out everything. And I said to him, I said, how does the stove work? He goes, I don't know. I said, you never. And I said, well, how come you don't know? He goes, I never turned it on. I said, you lived here for at least a year. You never put the stove on to make a pot of coffee? He goes, no. There's a bodega downstairs, and bodega is your local little grocery store. He goes, they make fresh coffee all the time. I didn't have to go downstairs. And he would constantly bring food home, eat out. And that's how a lot of young people think. They don't think about, and when I say this is not a judgment call, but it's a different lifestyle. I'd rather be free. I don't want to be burdened with going to the supermarket once a week and stacking up for the week. I don't want to be bothered with cooking and preparing food. I don't want, and when it comes to our house, if there's a problem with the plumbing, I call somebody, right? Okay. If there's whatever else that could go wrong with the house, if the heater's not working, I'll call the landlord, right? And they don't want to have that responsibility of taking care of that. All right. So it depends on what they value. They value more their freedom to be able to do what they want and not be tied down or worried about things like home repairs. Okay. And there's not a good or a bad to it, right? It's their lifestyle, their personal lifestyle, what they want. So if that's what they want, not everybody has to own a home. Okay. And that sounds weird from a real estate person, right? If you want to be, I just want to pay my rent. I want to live in, and some developments are beautiful and they have everything you want. And I don't want to worry about the house repairs. Okay. I don't want to worry about real estate taxes. I don't want to worry about real estate insurance. Let the owner take care of that. And that's their belief system. There's no wrong or right about it. Okay? So actually, when it's the next section here, we'll talk about, how to get yourself ready to prepare for buying a house, if that's what you wish. All right. So, but what I want to do then, just bring out those good reasons, because I am a real estate person. What you should buy. Okay. And let's see. Oh, come on. I think I got to get rid of this first. Here I am. Okay. There we go. Why buying a home makes more sense than renting today. So this is not for the people who say, I want to be free. I want, well, there's a lot of freedom when you own a house too. I mean, you can make any type of repair or changes you want, right? You can't do that with a rental. But these are people who want to buy, and they said, well, maybe I should hold off right now because these interest rates are high. The home prices are high. Maybe I should hold off. So here they're saying why buying a home makes more sense. Now, the biggest thing no matter what, in most situations, rentals will go up. And they're probably even more determined to go up even if the housing market goes bad. All right. Okay. One thing when I was listing property, when I listed a rental, I could put it on the multiple listing service, at 12 o'clock, and at 12:10 I'm getting calls on it. Now this is 12 o'clock in the afternoon, not in the morning. All right, and then within 10 minutes, people calling me about this property. Rentals, there's such a strong demand for rentals. Okay, so they in most situations, something really bad has to happen that rents prices won't go up. All right, so they historically will go up. And reading this, what I have in the yellow here, in March of 2023, the U.S. rental market experienced single-digit growth for the 8th month in a row. The median asking rent was $1,732, up by $15 from last month, and down by $32 from the peak. But it's still, and look at that, $354 or 25.7% higher than the same amount in time in the 2019 pandemic. Okay? So it's always going up, even though it's dipped a little bit because of what's happening now there's a lot of things happening now. And I don't want to go off track. I just want to finish this. But it's something with the economy and the possible recession. So here, this article says owning a home could be more affordable if you need more space. And this graph uses the national data on the median rental payment and median mortgage payment. Now, especially in real estate, median is much better to use than average. To give you an example, part of a realtor's job, if you're getting a listing, is to do a CMA, a market. I'm having a senior moment here. CMA, comparative market analysis, and you want to see what houses sold in a 1 mile radius that had the same amount of bathrooms, same amount of bedrooms, basically the same amount of square footage. If it had a garage, if it had a in-ground swimming pool, whatever. But you're always going to get one house that it was sold as a foreclosure, it was sold as a distressed property. And what happens when you average that in, it's going to lopside the average payment. Median price, but when they look at the median payments, they're looking at where it clusters, okay? So if, for example, if a 2-bedroom condo is around $200,000, all right? And if you do a report, you'll see, like some at 195, some at 205, but they'll be around that 200,000. There might be some foreclosures, and you'll have some at, maybe 150,000. Okay, and that if you do the average, that's going to knock over the average price, the result that you're going to get. And then you're going to have some that are overpriced. But you see where they kind of like cluster together. And so that's the median price, and that's what I'm more concerned about. Okay, and that's really important in real estate. So let's move this down a little bit here. So you have this nice little graph here, and I had to read this over because The median asking rental price was $1,732 overall. But if here to compare with a studio, which is $1,451, a one bedroom is $1,637. But what they do here, they use the mortgage payment for a two bedroom, and you see that it's lower, and it's lower here, around $80 in price, right? So the rent is $1,901, but the mortgage payment on the two bedroom would be $1,827. So this article is saying that the more space you need, it would be better than to purchase than to rent. And with that benefit, you start building up home equity, right? You don't have that when you rent, okay? When you rent, you take that money and you just throw it out the window. It goes to the owner, the landlord, and they made the investment and they're allowing you to use the space, and of course they deserve their payment, but it's just going out. You have no benefit from that. When you own the property, you're paying your mortgage, and as you're paying your mortgage down, right? To make it simple, let's say the house was $100,000, and you're paying down your balance, and $80,000. Now you're down to $70,000. So now you have $30,000 of equity that's truly yours. So if you would sell that house, you would get $30,000 net profit, right? That's without deducting taxes or real estate commissions. All right. So you're building up equity, so you have more of a profit margin. And that's a good thing. But you could also loan against that, right? You can get a home equity loan and you borrow against the equity in your house. And if you want to make a home improvement, if you want a new bathroom, a new kitchen, you could do that. So that's the benefit of having to purchase. And as up to this point in time, if you have a mortgage, your mortgage interest is deductible. And at the beginning of a mortgage, the majority of your payment is interest payment. All right, so that helps bring down your tax bill a whole lot. So that's some of the benefits of that. Okay? So it's up to you whether it's best to rent or to purchase. You have to really think about what you want, first of all. Okay, what's right for whoever is watching, and what type of lifestyle I want. And if I'm decide that I want to plant roots and be in this one area and raise my kids here, you have children and you say that's what I want, so that may be the best thing to do. Okay, it's on you. So with that in mind, I have a video on. We did talk about maybe a possible recession coming up. How does that affect the real estate market? Let's find out. dokie. So, I mean, we just had a good jobs report. Jobs are still being created. Unless something really horrific happens, I don't see a recession coming. Um, and if it does, I also believe, as I said in the video, there will be a mild one. And if we go into recession and the Fed say we gotta get the economy moving again, they will lower interest rates. Okay, so just stand by, and we'll see what's going on. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention that we're getting over 30 minutes now. I'd like to keep it under 30, but we have my buying and my selling guides. They come out quarterly, and they're for the spring. And if you want these wonderful things, you go to realestatewithmrg.blog, resource materials, and you download them there for free. Okay? All right, let me get rid of this. Okay. All right. So, my producer, William, he's also down at Buckrow Beach. And I think we have another celebrity performance in the audience. Is that true?
Hi, Chris. Yes, I'm also at the Buckrow Beach Farmers Market, enjoying this beautiful weather and vendors. Make sure you come down most Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. But great news, in our audience we have Benito Pietro Mascagni, an Italian vaudeville performer in his classic skit, The Organ Grinder and Monkey, as they annoy local neighbors and run from the police. Enjoy.
Okay, it was nice of them to stop by. I thank you very much. And I'm glad everybody's down there at Buckrow Beach for the farmers market. They will be there until the end of October. Most Saturdays, if there's other events at the beach, most likely they're not there. You could, the best way you could check, search for them on Facebook, the Buckrow Beach Farmers Market, and they will list the dates they won't be there. Like, I don't think they're there Memorial Day weekend. I think there's another big event happening there. So they're there most of the time. I would say 90% of the time. But if there's another major event, the other event will need that room, and it will not happen that Saturday. All right. So enjoy this beautiful weather. Be kind and loving to each other. And I want to do one silly thing before we go, because it was the coronation today. So I put, there's a crown there, but it's not fitting perfectly on my head. Okay, that's fine. All right. So we'll see you next Saturday. And always remember, the greatest power we have is to love, and the greatest gift, each other. I'll see you next week.